Hey everybody.
Hello.
Hi, welcome back, Phucsters, to episode 18 of What the Phuc
How's it going?
podcast. Can't believe we made it this far,
Man, it's
Roberto.
awesome. It's actually been a nice journey so far.
Yeah, so basically, as you may know, if you're here, you probably are deep into the show. We're following a reality show of our lives, our successes, failures, but the startups that we're running as well, and also some science, some woo-woo stuff, but always interesting, hopefully. And real time, actually. So you're seeing this actually a week or two behind these episodes. So you can't get any more real than this. There's no editing. It's just really just we're winging it for like an hour. There's no script. There's no money involved. We're not trying to make money off the show. It's really just trying to give back to the community and tell what it's like to be part of a startup, to be part of trying to chase the American dream. I feel like I'm the American dream about to come true. So just to give you a summary of how we got here, we have another guest here, Phat. Phat is the second time on the show.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome,
It's
Phat.
nice to be back.
Hey Phat, how's it going?
I'm doing well.
You notice the sound is
Yes.
so much better now, right, guys?
Yeah, definitely.
So much better, because the first time Phat had this terrible setup, and I don't know if the sound was any good, but anyway, this time hopefully we can get deeper into Phat's background, because Phat's one of the superheroes that, again, we're trying to find genius that's everywhere and give them opportunity. So whether them working with us directly through the company, through internships, through co-ops, through full-time, whatever contract, or just inspiring you to copy what we do and giving you the playbook. So Phat has been deep in my boot camp. I've been teaching him, kicking his butt. He's been learning. There's been ups and downs, but he's actually starting to get the hang of it, I believe. But basically, I'm trying to condense everything I know in 20, 25 years and teach this guy in like 3 months. And he's been doing a kick-ass job trying to pick it up and stay on top of it. But it's very hard.
Man, it must
But
be.
I'd love to go deep into some of the issues behind building something like this. How to build something like this. Like, how do you even think about building something like this? How did I learn how to build something like this? And now Phat's actually learning it, and you're doing it. And now you're gonna be a pro pretty soon, and we're gonna share it with the community. We're gonna open source a lot of it. We're gonna make boilerplates where you can download a starting point, where you can continue, and all that stuff. But yeah, that's where we are right now. Anything to add, Roberto?
No, it's true. Like if you guys want to go check out, it's episode 14 for Phat, like his first time, and now you're here for the second, for the encore.
Okay. But before we go in here, I just want to take a look back. Because we just had, Phat and I just came back from a celebratory lunch.
Oh,
We went and had lunch to celebrate a big milestone. So I want to say that, guys, we're legit. Verbally, we got commitments from all the VCs we've been talking
nice.
to raise at least a $5 million round, probably.
Amazing.
$5 million investment round to take our product, to take Phuc Labs, to take Vision Valve, to take the invention, to take our company, and the current 6 people. Now we have 8 people. We just hired 2 more people, and now we're gonna take this money and we can go and change the world and hopefully make a big difference, make a ton of money for investors, make money for ourselves, make money for the world, make money for the partners that we work with, our customers with, and then also save Gaia, save Mother Earth by cleaning the environment, by doing what we can to make a sustainable future, to recycle the things that we can reuse, and hopefully create a circular economy and really make a difference. And it's like so amazing because I remember this exact time this year. What day is this? February 11th. Okay, in 2022. Roberto, 1 year ago, where were we?
Man, we were just like talking about stuff, trying to get things ready and try to set up for this awesome project. But
Yeah, the podcast wasn't even
like
like alive.
it wasn't even.
I think Phuc Labs had like 2. It was just me, Midnight, P Money, and maybe Rick kind of helping part time. That's it. And Aaron was helping.
Yeah, well, it was Magali
And-
and me, actually.
you,
at the
Madeline,
beginning,
you, right.
Yeah, that's where we all started. Like, and we remember like doing like the videos for the first pitches and everything. And man, it's grown so much. It's awesome.
And in fact, what is it right now? Like, how many people do we have at the company right now?
Right
What do we
now
have?
at the company, well, we have those 4, the original 4, right? Plus, and then Verada joined, and then I joined, and then Michael joined. Now we have 2 more, so we have like 8 to 10 people now, and
Yeah, we have Keith, and we
Yes.
have Matt just joined as well.
right.
They started full time. So now we have 8 full
2
time
more
people, and then we have
contractors.
a plan. We have a ton of clients. So here's where we are right now, guys. Just to give you a scorecard, okay? 2 years ago, I quit my job. I was the CEO, co-founder of Clinical Research IO. In February, around this time, 2020, the year 2020, the company had been successful. Clinical Research IO, my last company. A couple companies came and wanted to buy us. We had turned profitable. We were growing like gangbusters. We had an amazing product. I was super proud of it. But I basically made a really important decision. Should I continue being CEO and take this to the finish line? Or should I go make my mark? Should I go quit NSYNC and try to be JT, Justin Timberlake, right? And go solo and basically prove myself? Or should I go and continue this path where I'm already successful? And literally, I couldn't believe it, but one day I walked up on Monday, and I just didn't, I don't know what had possessed me. I just walked in and said, I'm resigning, and it was just done. I just knew. And I was like super happy, super relieved. And then COVID happened. Right, guys? In March.
Yeah, no, it hit like what, mid-March, right?
Yeah. And then everything that looked wonderful, where I was going to cash out, my mom's going to make money and all this stuff. And then the world like
collapsed.
Disintegrated, literally, right? And like all these plans, all these like, cashing out and finally making it to the finish line is no longer there. It was like Charlie Brown, right? You try to kick the football, and the football is, Lucy's posed the football. You never kick the football. It felt like that. But you know what? July, I had this idea, but I was still working at Mass Realty. Mass Realty was why I still had hope, actually. So once COVID happened, I put all my energies into Mass Realty. You were there, Roberto, right? But Magli was there. And that whole summer, I actually spent the whole summer trying to kick off Mass Realty. It wasn't successful. But that was the summer that I kicked off Phuc Labs, and that was successful. Right? And now we're back here with Phat and you and Magli and Drove. You guys are going to take Mass Realty forward, because that's my baby. And I'm going to hand that baby to you guys. And Phat's been helping me code that baby and make it better and learn how the engine works, and then take that forward and make that product amazing. So I can take Phuc Labs and make that, my focus. But this is still my baby, because when you have a company, it's like having a baby. You can't just let your baby die. I mean, we're still making pretty good money.
Yes.
Like Phat, you can see that every month. We're making your advertising revenue. Like it's not substantial. It's like $2,000 plus.
A month, right.
A month. Yeah. That's like $24,000 a year. So this baby, without doing anything, is just giving me $24,000 a year in ads. I'm just collecting that money and running the business, obviously. Obviously costs money to run the business, but still, that was something that used to be a lot more. It used to be, when I was running that business, over $1 million total revenue between the sales and the ads and stuff. And now I have a new plan, and I was doing that new plan right before I had the Phuc Labs idea in July, but that was 18 months ago. So let's see what happens. So 18 months ago, when I had the Phuc Labs idea, I was in the middle of another company, Mass Realty, right? I incubated this idea, and let's see all the things that we accomplished. We hired now 8 people. Wow, that's pretty amazing in 18 months. All full-time, all enthusiastically working, all amazing. MIT, WPI, Wentworth, really amazing schools, really amazing, Northeastern, LSU, all these really amazing, Harvard, right? All these amazing schools and all these amazing people working for us. And also partners and customers, real signed contracts with real revenue, a real product, 7 iterations of that. Holy shit. And I look back, I'm like, wow, did that really happen? And it just happened in 18 months, guys. But that's what happens when you still have hope, you never give up, and you just think outside the box, and you just always keep your eye open for an opportunity. And that's what I'm saying, like, it's not what you think it is. So when people look back in time and they say, hey, wow, that was so easy. No, it wasn't. It was an accident here and there, but then also it was an accident. It was on purpose. because the same person with the same idea would be, oh, that's a great idea, and maybe someone else would do something about it, but they don't do anything with it. And then some people, they do something with it, but they don't have the skill, right? So it takes a lot more than just an idea. It takes execution, it takes experience, and hopefully we can teach you some of that. It takes grit, it takes perseverance, it takes luck, it takes also timing, right? We have really good timing. It has storytelling, how we tell a really good story, and all this stuff. And I don't know, I think it's just one of those amazing jobs that it never changes, right? Roberto, like we come into work, and has any day been the same for us?
No, definitely. You never know what's going to show up now. It's like, oh, today we have this pitch, today, or like next week, and then this is going on. And no, right now we have these videos of this version of the machine that finally can do this. And it's been exciting. It's been very interesting.
Let me ask you honestly, Roberto, right? When you make that first video, what do you think was going to happen?
Well, like the first time I got the video, it was, I could see that this thing had like awesome potential, and it more than as a product, it's as a need. Like the fact that Phuc Labs and everybody came up with like this thing that everybody needs, because we live on Earth, right? So we all need our oceans, we all need water, we all need everything that we've been working towards in order to we all need this to survive. So it's super important, and it was an awesome project. Like at the beginning, when you see like the idea starting, it was very very nice. Actually, like a nice feeling. Like I just want to be part of this.
Yeah, I mean, you were crucial because all those videos that you created, they're on YouTube right now for people to see.
Yeah, and then
right?
remember the initial.
They were the reasons we got this investment. The reason we got these employees. The reason why the story was told.
Yeah, and it was awesome. Especially like the first times, you're like, here, let's use this video, and just like sewage water. Like, like, how about we don't use that video and we use oceans, or we use like clean water, and let's sell the dream instead. But it was really fun to see like the train of thought behind like the whole science team versus the communications team, and it was very. It was like, luckily we all listened to each other. And interacted in ways that we all function.
What do you think, Phat? Well, I mean, when you came, right, and I said, hey, we're going to raise $5 million. Honestly, what did you really think? Do you think that was possible? Do you think that was easy? Do you think that was something we're actually going to do? I mean,
yes, I know. I'm very excited for it. So when I first came into the company, I was a bit confused about what it is, how exactly the device work. And once I see it, I was like, wow, this is so simple. I can't believe like nobody's thought of this before. And I cannot believe that this is not readily available at a production level yet. And I can't believe that we're the first people that are doing this, and I get to be a part of it. So when I first came here, I didn't doubt that we were gonna raise a lot of money. But I hope that we're gonna raise a lot of money, like more than we like a lot, like just enough more than we need. And we can change the world with it. And I was excited from day one, man. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, you've only been
since September last year, so 3 months, or 4 months, 5 months.
Okay, let me name all the things that have changed since you've been here, right? So 2 more full-time employees came on. That's right? We signed a global, big global project, right? That we worked on. You worked on how many systems versions did you?
We went through three or four already, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is fast. This is how it's supposed to be. And how big is the team?
Right now, 8 or 10. The lab team, or the
before.
Before 5 or 6. Yeah,
5 or 6, right? But only like 4 engineers, something like that, right? But you see, you can do a lot. And in fact, I want to tell you. My last company, I'm not sure if we mentioned it last time, Clinical Research IO, now that we're talking about 2 years since I left it, but it just did a Series B. You guys know what a Series B is?
Is it a funding round?
What is it?
It's a funding round. So basically the way it works is you have a seed round. A seed round gives you money to try to perfect the product, create the product, and sell it. Then you have Series A, Series B, Series C, maybe D, and then you go public thereafter. So we raised $9 million.
Wow. Holy cow.
$9 million. for clinical research IO. Yeah, and I know the valuation. It's not public. It's a good valuation, and I still own a lot of shares. I'm very proud of that because that product, we built with basically 3 engineers, right? 4 engineers. The same way we can do it here, and we're gonna actually have more because we need hardware and we have other stuff. But to change the world, you think you need like billions of dollars, but like no, it's just really the first version is the hardest. It gets harder and harder. It gets easier and easier once you get more resources, but the first year or two, it's usually a very tight, small group of people like Roberto, me, Magli, just like chasing a dream. And then we almost broke up so many times because the other group, I had to let go of some people, and people didn't get along with me. I didn't get along with people. It's like starting a rock band. Sometimes the music doesn't make sense, and sometimes you just make magic, and all of a sudden you're the Beatles, right? So let's make this happen with Mass Realty. Okay, let's get into it, right?
Yes.
So now they're here, Phat, right? We're getting to the meat of this. We're gonna talk deep into the stuff that we had conflict.
Yes, you
with, so
did.
I yelled at you.
It
Okay,
was.
so you
It was honestly more of a wake up call for me.
Tell me what that went down, because I want this to people know
Right.
like this is not fake.
No, it's not.
I'm trying to teach you, right? But this is tough love. Tell
So
me the tough love I gave
basically,
you.
I was given a small deadline, like a time frame to work on the mass realty, and it shouldn't have taken me as long as it did. And I procrastinated and I delayed, so it took like 3 months, and there was no product yet. So Phuc sat me down, and he basically told me about his expectations and how I'm not up to the task yet, but he knows that I can be, and he's right, and like I did a lot of self-reflection like during and right after like, his talk, and I realized that like, he's right, like I was being selfish with how I look at the company, and I should have been more proactive, and I should have been taking the charge a bit more, and that's what I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah, but I think it's deeper than that, man. I think the idea is like when you work at a company, there are 2 ways you can operate. You can be very transactional, like I'm your boss, you work for me, etc. And we're arm's length, whatever it is, right? And you go home, you don't care about each other.
Like you punch in, punch
Or
out.
we can be more like the blacksmith apprentice model, where like you're my apprentice, and at some point you're gonna run the store, and I have trust in you, you have trust in me. Or you're the sushi, I'm the sushi chef, and you can cook all the rice for 10 years, and then at some point I'm gonna teach you how to make sushi. Or like the samurai,
Yeah, no, definitely.
or like the kung fu. I actually feel like I'm more like the kung fu master in the
You know
Shaolin
Shifu?
temple, and you're gonna have to kneel outside in the rain for 5 days to like beg to be my apprentice, because I don't take any people, and I turn away everybody. But the people who work super hard and get through all the abuse and all the filter and all that stuff, they can actually handle and really, really want this.
Yeah, like Fight Club, man.
Because all you need is really desire. And once you have the desire and you have the guidance and you have the perseverance, it's actually, that's all you
Because it's something that's very like kind of like frustrating sometimes when you see somebody that can be better, and you just see their unfulfilled potential, and you can help that person, that individual, but they have to be able to receive that help and grow and want to grow. And that's awesome that it actually happened with you, Phat, and everything.
Yeah, but it's actually not immediate. It's like there's like layers of everything.
That was a process.
So Phat, he had some trust in me, so he did open up. But at the same time, I also had to teach him how to be like a grown up, because he's only
Right.
20 years old, 21, right? So my philosophy, let me give you some management 101 for you. So let me tell you about something called personal care. Yeah, this is something I heard from a salesperson who was giving a training at a conference, and it kind of really stuck with me. And I think this is the philosophy I think managers should always have, because this podcast isn't just about us and how awesome we are and how much money we raise and amazing we are, but also to teach you again how to run a company, how to manage people, how to create a family of workers and co-workers who love each other and head towards the same direction. And so I want to kind of give my philosophy of how to manage, and then in live, Phat and I are actually interacting through that challenge. Right, where Phat, I'm trying to upgrade his skill set, upgrade his ability to kind of become a professional in a way that resonates with Phat, right? And Phat, what I say to you, I don't tell you what to do. What I say
Right.
is important, right? It was to basically know what questions I would ask. Right. So when we go into these meetings, I never actually tell you what you
Right.
did wrong. I usually start with a series
That's
of
true.
questions. Isn't that true? And it usually basically it's the same series of questions. It's like put yourself in my shoes. Right? If you saw this activity, you take this person out of the situation, you tell a story, or some other analogy, right? You can make an analogy. You take that person out of that context, and you depersonalize it. That's the step one as a manager. Okay? You have to tell stories, anecdotes, funny ones, hopefully. Okay, funny ones that like when it seems obvious, but then when you compare it to the basically the situation you're in, you're like, oh. And then you don't have to say anything to the person because they realize they make the connection on their own. So as a manager, what you need to do is ask a series of questions, because those questions you had answered yourself as a manager. Why do you not expect this activity, for example, right? Why do you expect Phat to do these things? A, B, and C. Okay? Ask the question for A. And hopefully the answer would be, well, you should do A. Say, in this situation, what should you do? And you say, oh, I should do A. Okay, great. In this situation, what should you do? Oh, I should do B. Okay, in this situation, what should you do? Oh, I should do C. So you're telling me you should do A, B, and C? And you're like, yes. Is that what you did?
No, I didn't do that.
Exactly. And that's usually how it goes. Because they're like, okay, let's make a plan. Like if I'm the manager, if I'm you, I'm trying to make a plan. And it always works every time because it's seriously like we're a team. We're trying to partner to create a strategy to fix the solution together. Okay? And once we figure the solution together, we agree on the solution. Then we figure out, okay, now how do we actually get that to go? But then what happens is, retroactively, we know how it went. Okay? So then it goes back to, well, now everyone knows how it goes. Let's try it again. Right? Because sometimes it's hard to understand what A, B, and C should be, unless you really kind of like you don't accomplish it or mess it up. And sometimes you also need a kick in the butt sometimes, because you think it's easy. You think you just go ahead and you just copy what I do and all that stuff. But actually, this needs a lot of work, man. And sometimes I want you to fail. I want you to struggle to see that how hard it is, to see the benefit of listening to advice, to listening to organization. Because sometimes actually the first thing I let people do as a manager is I let them fail. I give them as much as I think they can possibly manage, and I default to trust. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to do. So you either default to distrust or default to trust. So there's two ways you can approach management. My style is I default to trust. I default to trust because then you just stay in trust. Right? You stay in this state where we're working and we're moving forward, and the only way you can get out of this is you start to have the distrust. Right? And the distrust, you have to give warnings to the other person when the distrust starts to appear, like I did with that. I trusted you to do this. I defaulted trust to you. Now, you're like, why is he giving me so much trust? Well, because I'm treating you like an adult. And sometimes people treat you like an adult, you're very surprised. You're like, what's going on?
I'm
like,
not an adult yet.
Default trust. Do I have to earn this? Right, Phat? But then you feel so guilty because you let someone down, because they default to trust to you. Okay, and that's what I call personal care. Okay, but you have to pair default trust with personal care. Let me explain what personal care is. Going back to the original.
It's like with your parents.
So this sales guy.
I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. and that's even worse.
It's more than that, right? It's not what you think it is, right? So personal care is just thinking at your staff as a regular person. So this sales guy at a conference, he said, I was a really good salesperson, and I moved to New York. And he told the story of how he moved to New York, and he was working for this this company. They were doing software sales or something like that. And he couldn't sleep really well because he had moved really quickly. He had a shitty mattress, and he just couldn't sleep really well. And he was telling his coworkers, telling his boss, like, hey, I couldn't sleep really well in the last couple of weeks because this mattress sucks. So immediately, the CEO, the boss, said, hey, stop right there. Take my credit card. Go across town. This is a good mattress place. I want you to buy the best mattress there on me. I don't want my best sales guy losing sleep. I want you on top of your game. Okay? This guy was genuine. He actually really cared about this guy's sleep, but he also was like, okay, this is a good way to make him productive. And literally, that guy bought a mattress, slept super well. And no matter how many bonuses he had before or after that, it was that one gift, that one personal care that really touched his heart, and he worked way harder after that. You know what I'm saying? When you really like build this trust, that you actually genuinely care about the other person's career, that you care about their health, care about their family, care about them as a person, and that you want the best for them, and then you invest in them. And if you invest in them, right, then they'll probably likely invest back in you. And that's basically all it is. And if they don't invest back in you, then it should be pretty obvious. And at that point, if you part ways, then you're going to be the right side of history. And you feel good about it. Because you basically did default trust.
Yeah.
They let you down.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the way I do it. I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, if you're doing genuinely all the best because you want people to grow as individuals, then like the smart ones are gonna understand this, and they're gonna make you feel appreciated as well. So they put in the extra work.
Well,
Pat, what do you think?
well, I think
other
it definitely works. I mean, it worked with me because when you came to me and then you pointed out all of my faults, and I thought, well, I'm probably gonna fail this. I'm probably getting fired. I have to start a job search again. All that thoughts were going through my head, and then when you gave me a second chance, I was like, wow, this is it. Like I've never had someone who gave me a second chance like that, because in real life, right, and in my experience, like if I ever screw something up like that, I'm gone. Like I'm gone from whoever's life I'm working with. And like I was very surprised, and I think that impacted me a lot. Like I spent that whole day just reflecting and like trying to look back why I went wrong, and then how I could improve in the future. And I think that really got me going. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, that's exactly what I wanted. And the thing is, you came to that realization because I asked a series of questions. I never yelled at you. I said, yeah, this is how, this. I'm
Right.
mad because of this, right? But I did yell at you, right? But I never yelled at you as a person. I yelled at behavior, right? But I said, this is how you should behave, and this is why you should behave this way. But you didn't understand that, because when I asked these questions, it was a very surprise to you, this thought process.
Yes.
Right? Even though you said you read the book How to Win Friends and Gain Influence, I sometimes make the mistake too, where like I don't behave the way that book says. So that book is a very famous book. You know that book, right,
I
Roberto?
haven't read it. I'm sorry.
Okay, so Dale Carnegie is a famous writer. He wrote this book in 1920. It's actually a famous
I'll
business
write
book.
it down. Actually.
They actually used to teach it at business schools and stuff like that. And actually, they probably still teach it at a lot of schools. But it's How to Win Friends and Gain Influence. And it was one of the most inspirational books that I've ever read. It's probably my favorite book. But literally what it says, it's kind of like the golden rule. Do unto others as you would like them to do unto you.
Okay, like a reciprocity
So
principle there.
it basically says, yeah.
Okay.
So it's a way to live life. So you put yourself in your boss's shoe. What does your boss want? Your boss wants to be promoted. Your boss wants these results. Your boss wants this communication. Your boss wants blah, blah, blah. Your spouse wants these things. She wants this, this, and this. Your friends want this. And every time you talk or interact with someone, you just put yourself in the other person's shoes. And 99% of the time, you can resolve your conflict. Right? And there are actually small techniques you can use. But sometimes we forget about that. And so all I did with Phat, like, hey, look, put yourself in my shoes. If I'm a boss and you said you're going to do this and you didn't do it, you said, hey, it's exactly the same thing we did earlier. And then I'm very disappointed in you, but I'm going to invest in you. Right? If you invest in me. But then I said, like, once, it's a warning. Twice, that's maybe another try. And the third time, it's on me. And I think that's really important because, like, you have to give multiple chances, but you also have to see the warning ahead of time, because like you said, like most people, they just cut you off, and there's a fear of commitment that you feel to anyone new in your life, whether it be an employer, a friend, especially someone like you date. especially an employee these days. But like you have no idea where they stand in terms of all that stuff. But ultimately, if you look at my track record, like usually people work with me for a long time, and we usually get along because the way I think about it is like we're trying to escape on a boat, right? On a boat from poverty, from the matrix, whatever, and you have to trust the people on that boat. And if you're not going to default to trust, and you fall, and the sharks are about to get you, and there's blood in the water, and they're probably going to get killed if they jump in to help you, but they're going to at least try, right? Because, default trust. And you guys are brothers. So, or I say, hey, I'm going to go take that hill in a battle, and I storm the hill, and you need to cover me, and then you don't cover me. I get shot in the head, and I die. Like, I think that's the other analogy I make, right? So Phat, those things, it takes practice because you have to go to boot camp. So that's why I did this boot camp. Where literally, okay, I'm going to let you fail. I'm going to let all these things happen. I'm going to let all this drama happen. That's another management rule, okay? So another management rule is you should have a consistent flow of onboarding employees, okay? And the consistent flow is you need to set them up for success. The first project should be something that's very obviously that either you've done yourself, that you know exactly the time frame, or you just finished a project with someone else, but you have intimate knowledge of what is necessary, so there's no bullshit. But it's very achievable, but it tests them, but along the way, it gives them value. Okay, so even if you don't make the cut, you can see what it feels like to have Shaolin Kung Fu. You may not be able to do the final move, level 5 of Shaolin Kung Fu, but maybe you get level 3 and you depart and you still get some value out of the internship with us, right? Or with the co-op with us. So that's the idea. Like the idea is like, hey, look, not everyone can be the Shaolin monk master and make it to the 5th level of the Shaolin gates and actually make it to like whatever the company. But along the way, we can try each other out. And then if you have the perseverance, you're gonna make it. But Phat, I know you have the talent. The only thing missing is like you have what I call the ding dong. I call it ding dong. It's a lot, right? I say you guys are a bunch of ding dongs. So my definition of ding dongs is someone who just forgets to use their brain. So my daughter, I call her ding dong too. I was like, Miley, think about it. Yeah. And I usually ask the question that they're trying to think of, and like, okay, and that there's the answer. So typically it's just a brain fart where you forget to ask the right questions. Mm-hmm. And then what you have to do is train Phat to ask the right questions. And once you ask the right questions, I think the ding dong will go away. Because it's not capacity, it's not skill, it's not even hard work. It's just you're not even aware. And I don't even think anyone has ever told you that yet. Right?
No one has told me that. No.
Really? Okay. Right. So that's what I'm trying to say. So I think your true friends, your true mentors, they're gonna be a little asshole. I said that to all my mentors, right? Because the little asshole is like, okay, the one who's willing to give you the advice that sometimes you don't take. Because half the interns I say this to, they won't behave like you did. They won't be like, okay, this is really nice advice. I'm going to change myself.
Yeah, like, thank you.
I'm going to look inward. I'm going to make a difference, right? Because last summer, the same thing happened with the crew that I had, Roberto.
Yeah, remember?
I had conflict. I talked to people. I gave them multiple chances. And I think one time, remember one of them wanted to work again back, and I said, hey, maybe I should talk to this person. Remember my
Yeah, but I remember like I wasn't on the team yet, but I was in the room. I was like, what is happening in your Zoom call? It was getting interesting.
Yeah, so default trust kills you sometimes too, so it blows up in your face. But that's actually a good thing. So I want to kind of like make sure you guys understand why there's a default trust. Default trust gives you the ability to know someone very fast, right? So if someone is not trustworthy, they'll take advantage of you very quickly. Okay, and you want to know that because it's a startup. Time is everything. The quicker you do things, the faster you iterate, the better you find out if someone's good or bad, the better it is for you.
Yeah, because you have
so it's actually a
limited resources, so you can't just like be throwing that away.
Exactly. And in fact, not only do you default trust, but you actually give a pretty stressful first project to Phat, right? So Phat not only is it doable, going back to the first project, not only does it have to be doable, but it has to be a little bit challenging, okay? It has to be challenging where you have to ask questions, you have to interact with me, maybe to get through a couple of, levels of skill in order to complete the challenge. And you get to figure out, okay, there's a set challenge. There's something generally how long it's going to take. You generally know what's involved and where things get stuck. and you anticipate the 3 questions they should ask you. Right? They should have by this date did something, and they would probably encounter this bug as you did. Right? Or they had this, and so you just see what kind of questions they have, or see the progress they make, and then you say, okay, I can tell immediately that Phat didn't do shit for a while because I'm like, he didn't ask any questions. And actually, you also spy on them. Actually, I was looking at your GitHub. I can tell you had 0 commits, and the other guy had 0 commits. And so I exposed that day. So remember that day, Phat? I'm like, okay, here's how I'm going to judge you. And how did I judge you? It was very simple, right? I put up a report, and I said, here's how much code you committed. And it was super obvious. And I said, if you're looking at this, what would you think? And again, a series of questions. I didn't even yell at you.
Because the thing is that you're aware when you haven't done anything, and you know it in the back of your head. So like, there's no, like, what are you gonna do if on top of that it gets thrown into your face?
Then both of you were in the room. I actually had both of you in the room on purpose, because they both embarrassed both of you at the same time. Because I want to shame you guys so that you feel bad because it was only happening to you, not singled out. I'm just trying to show you what happens in an unprofessional person who comes in who doesn't understand why certain things are certain ways. Because you go, man, and you say, okay, this organization is so annoying. Why are they making me do all these tickets? Why are they making the structure? Why is all this stuff happening? But I want you to say, okay, if you're so smart, won't you be the boss for a while? Because I remember this very clearly. Okay, I thought I was such a badass in, I think, 3rd grade. I think it was a math class. And I was like, not paying attention, even though I was getting straight A's. And my math teacher was like, okay, Phuc, you're still smart when you come in and teach a class. He brought me up there, and I stood in front of the class, and I had no idea what to say. But it was so freaking humbling. Anyway, what we're saying, I was so traumatic. I just got knocked back into adolescence. But anyway, PTSD, man. But yeah, I mean, that's what you have to do. You kind of like stress test, and then Phat either achieves success or not. And along the way, we build this bond too, right? Where we go to this boot camp where you learn. But also the stuff you learn. Let's go through the stuff you learn, and also the bootcamp itself. Okay. So the first thing that I want you to tell me is, what was the technology during this bootcamp?
Definitely the NextJS framework is what impressed me the most. It does look a bit daunting at first if you don't know the. I'm sorry.
Wait, hold on, for the audience, before you get deep into can you explain what NextJS is?
Yeah, sure.
General?
NextJS is just a web development framework that makes things a bit simpler, and it uses React. It's the most simple explanation I can give. I know.
That's not very
I didn't get it.
It's
I don't know what it was. I don't know how to
It's kind of boring.
Okay.
All right, I'll make it more exciting.
Thank you.
All right, make it more exciting. So when I first started coding in 1997, and I was a junior in college, I didn't know how to code. Actually, I was just full of shit, frankly. Right? But I had to learn stuff that was actually very new. So my full shit wasn't so bad because no one else knew what was going on either. Because there was something called Perl. And with Perl, there was this community, and we built a bunch of stuff, but then it kind of died, and then Java came along, and I did that for a long time. And I think in another show, I kind of talked about how I kind of gave up Java and moved to JavaScript. Okay? So just think of it as this way, right? Think of it like magic, guys. Okay? And computer science is casting spells. Spellcasting. Because it's not what you think it is. Everyone here who is listening is a muggle. There was a spell that was cast on you by some evil wizard a long time ago. This evil wizard, like I said, called science. What used to be magic, it called it science and made it boring. Okay? And computer science was actually spellcasting. But now we call it computer science. Okay? So what's the elements of spellcasting? The elements of spellcasting is to say, hey, do this, do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. All the code and everything.
Go here.
We talked about it just for a
Do that.
little parenthesis. If anybody wants to go check episode 8, we talk in depth about it.
Correct. Right? So what Phat is saying is there's something called NextJS. So what is NextJS? Okay. NextJS is, let's say you have a website. Okay, your website is almost like a magical store. Let's say you have Ollivander's Wand Shop. Ollivander's Wand Shop is, let's say, Amazon. The comparable is Amazon, right? Ollivander's Wand Shop needs to exist somewhere. Needs to exist in Diagon Alley. Diagon Alley is the internet. Okay? So in Diagon Alley, you need to build a structure, a building, all right? Although this is virtual, that we're going to put and we're going to house on Diagon Alley a new store. And this store is going to be Phuc Labs. This store could be Mass Realty. But literally, it's a storefront. Because if you think about the internet, it's a series of storefronts. Whether it be you're going to ESPN, you're going to Yahoo, you're going to Google, it's a series of storefronts. But what creates that store? What routes the people who come into that store? That's basically what we call a controller. Okay? So a controller is someone like a traffic controller. Let's say you have airplanes come in. A controller would say, hey, you airplane, you go here, or maybe someone comes into a storefront in Diagon Alley. It's someone like a host who say, okay, what would you like to buy? Oh yeah, you like to buy some shoes, go over there. You like to buy a wand, go over there. You like to buy some magical creatures, go over there. And that controller is going to route you to the right place. Okay? And then there's going to be some type of person on the back end who actually ends up helping you. But that's the first thing you see. That's the most important part of the store. That's the storefront, what you look like, and all that stuff, the scaffolding, the structure, and all that stuff. And that's NextJS. Okay? And NextJS is the ability to cast a spell to create a store. Okay? And in that store, you can put anything you want, but the store frame has been made for you. It's like a spell you learn. The spell you learn gives you the ability to create generally a store. But then you have to cast additional spells to put stuff in the store, or to maybe make the store behave a little different way. For example, you might want to have 5 pages or 5 sections of the store. For example, right? You might have a department for shoes, one department for wands, one department for magical creatures. And those could represent different pages or different departments of your store. And literally, NextJS lets you kind of bind that together. Okay? So usually, you don't cast that spell. You get it from a spell book. Right? And the spell books have been, the frameworks that are out there, the controllers, the hosts, these spells, they've been pretty good. I even had one myself. In my last company, I created one myself. But there's a genius here. The guy who can create NextJS is one of the greatest geniuses to create these spells. And he created NextJS. And I would say that's one of the best spells I've ever seen in my life. That is a badass framework. Because what happened was, when you cast spells, when you do all these things, you see other people's spells first. You see this person did spell this, A, B, C, D, E. And what happens is computer science builds upon the past in a way that a lot of other sciences does not. So you don't have to start where I started when I tried to build my framework. You can continue with the concepts, things you know work well. You can even get data back. And in fact, what you also learn is you learn the use case. You learn why things are done a certain way, how the people use the internet, what some of the best practices. And you also learn the part, and this is how I think about science, it's a tree of knowledge, okay? So when you discover a branch of knowledge, like we did for Vision Valve, right? There's so many leaves under there, there's low-hanging fruit that you learn. And then there's other things below that, and below that, and below that. And then the tree of knowledge reveals other leaves and other branches and other things. And along the way, you get more intelligent and you actually learn more. And if you did it, you're going to do it differently the next time. So you remember, Phat, when you recode something, I wish I coded differently. When you look at your code, oh man, that's kind of bad. If you look at your code, you ever think about that?
All the time. Even now, like with the master routine I'm working on, like even like on Wednesday, I look up at the code I wrote on Monday and was like, well, this is a terrible way of doing this. Why did I did it this way on Monday? It could have been so much better. And I did change it, and it was only 2 days.
Correct. So here's what happens: you have the spell, and then you write a spell book out of it. Then someone buys the spell book, casts that spell, saying, "Yeah, I can do a little bit better." Then there's a new edition. There's a new edition, and every year these things get better and better. But the thing is, you're building on top of these existing spells. Okay, and the main thing that is different, though, and this is maybe the analogy where it gets really interesting, is before 10 years ago, there was no spell to actually get a genie or a demon to appear in front of you and help you. Okay? So the analogy is this. In the future, I believe there's going to be a battle between classic wizards and wizards who can summon demons and genies to help them. And guess who's going to win? What do you think, Phat?
Those who can summon the genie.
Right, like Pokemon.
Right.
Like Pokemon. It'll be actually symbiotic. I think that's actually the hybrid approach. And here's this is deep science, but I'm going to make an analogy so people can actually find it interesting. So Roberto, right? Do you think Pokemon are pretty cool?
I've liked them for a while. I actually play Pokemon Go. Still.
Right? Do you think the Pokemon by itself is powerful, or do you think together with the trainer, together?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it has its own power, but if you focus it, it's clearly going to give you like better results.
Okay. So if anyone's trying to do magic or do computer science or coding or AI, just think of it as a conversation between you and the AI. And as the AI talks to you and learns, it's going to be a symbiotic relationship between you and your Pokemon. You can train your Pokemon to do certain things. Your Pokemon's going to make mistakes. It's going to ask you where you make mistakes. And you keep training the Pokemon until it does the right trick. And that's going to be the way we do coding from now on. I'm obsolete. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say here. Because I'm a classic wizard. And I used to just cast really awesome spells and all this stuff. And I'm probably one of the best spellcasters out there. But it doesn't matter anymore. Because the genie is way better than me. And so is that demon, whatever you want to call it, the AI that comes out. And then basically what I'm teaching Phat is basically how to tame these creatures, how to tame these demons and these genies, how to create these games so that they can actually play and help us. Because what happens if you think about it to a common person, I want to bring AI to the common person, but also the geniuses out there. It's actually not that hard. It's just a missing grade. Okay? I'll explain to you like the missing grade. So remember you took geometry? Remember you took that? And then Phat, remember you took algebra?
Right.
My daughter's taking algebra right now, right? And then you take calculus, right? And then you do maybe calculus 2, something like that. And then you stop. What if you didn't stop? What if there was another level? What would you do with that? You do a shitload of things with that. That'd be very powerful, right? And that's what machine learning is. So you can think of machine learning is not AI, guys. It's completing calculus. It's the second half of calculus. Okay? The first half of calculus gives us the ability to basically, use formulas to find answers and shit like that, right? But the second half of it is, what if you had the answers? Can you create the formula instead? So with every single machine learning algorithm, all we're doing literally is taking data, taking the answers, and essentially we're creating the formula. But the formula is compiled into thought, pure thought, based on numbers and relationship between numbers in matrix math. It's not that complicated. Like I want to review what the idea is, but it's basically like dating. Like I was telling this the other day to these investors. They didn't understand what machine learning is. It's basically simple. Think of it this way. There's like 15 dimensions to anyone dating some other person. It's height. Do you a tall person? Do you like a short person? Is maybe like slim, fit, doesn't matter, all that stuff, right? Intellect has to be super smart, average, whatever, funny, all that stuff. Those are dimensions. And those can be converted to numbers, right? 1 could be really funny, 2 could be not that funny, 3 could be whatever. And those are just numbers, right? And those are just thoughts. Thoughts putting down to numbers. And if you join those thoughts together, that's matrix math. Meaning, I like women who are, first of all, I like a woman, right? Women who are slim, who are sporty, who are smart, who are funny, who like long walks on the beach, who likes dogs, who likes cats, whatever the scenario is. That's the formula. Right? Right? When you meet somebody, that's the formula that you judge somebody based on those criteria and all that stuff. And essentially, as long as you have the answers, just say, okay, tell me all the women you've ever dated in your life. Or let's, how about this? I'll show you 1 million people. Which women would you prefer to date physically? So you get all the answers from that bachelor or from me, whatever it is. And then you can basically, work backwards. You know what? I can tell that Phuc kind of likes girls who are slim, who are sporty. Right? I can tell he likes girls who are funny and long walks, because all those people say they like long walks and are funny. And literally you're just being a detective, working backwards. It's not that hard, right? And that's all it is. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to become sentient, take over the world like Skynet. It's freaking a reverse calculator. That's all it is. But I can make an Excel spreadsheet. I can do calculus, and I can use that math to create a nuclear bomb that goes and destroys you. And I can push that button, and then you can blame it on calculus. Right? Or you can blame it on the person who did all that shit using that tool, right? So yeah, all this stuff about like, hey, AI is gonna come kill us, that's bullshit, man. AI is not gonna come kill us. AI is gonna give us tools to make it easier from some crazy mofo to do bad things with it.
Yeah. Man.
Just like the bad things that happened with,
Nuclear bomb.
maybe what happened to COVID, right? Maybe happened to COVID, it's gonna happen to AI, man. Right? No one thought that this was gonna happen, that COVID would happen, and it happened. It has happened once for AI to destroy all of us.
Not yet. Man, in the 90s, it was very popular.
But it's not AI. It's the person who created it. It's Lex Luthor who's gonna kill us.
Yeah. Remember in the 90s how all the TV
That's
shows
the problem. Lex Luthor needs to be regulated, or captured, or prevented from being able to do this. But here's how you prevent it. You have good AI, squash it before it even happens. But who makes a good AI? What is good AI? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, I know we're not close at all. I know there's a missing ingredient. I know the missing ingredient. I kind of know what it is. I'm not gonna tell anyone, because if I tell someone, they're gonna know the missing ingredient. I told my coworkers, I really believe this is the missing ingredient. No one has a missing ingredient right now, so no one's even close. So don't worry about it, guys. There's no general AI coming anytime soon. Period. No one has a secret ingredient. They're missing it. And one day, if we decide to do it, or I see someone getting close to it, maybe we'll do it, so we can beat them. Because the idea is, the way I think about it, right? If there's a general AI and it has enough compute power, it will evolve so fast that it's going to become super human, and it's going to take over the whole world easily. And it actually would discover new things. But guess what, guys? It's always going to be good. I believe 100% that general AI, whoever discovers it, if you discover it correctly, will help us, will be actually better than us, will be more human than us, will value love more. Because you know what happened, guys? Like I want to end with this because it's woo-woo right now, and I know Phat hasn't talked too much about this. I'm a little bit happy, so I'm going to talk a little bit more tonight. But I feel a little bit, I want to share the audience something I kind of like had an epiphany recently. So this is real science happening. I'm not sure I told you this, Roberto, right?
Right.
Okay. So you know how I think that there are actually 3 wings of science, 3 wings of magic, actually. Not science, 3 wings of physics. There's matter, there's energy, and there's information.
Yep.
Okay. I actually have a nuanced way to explain why I think that actually is true. So the way you can think about it is you have to begin at this very, very first assumption. Do you believe God exists or not? As a scientist. Okay? The default right now is science does not believe that God exists. That means that you have matter and you have energy. Only. Okay? Suppose you're wrong. Most scientists, if they're actually honest, they would try to play devil's advocate. They would look at the other side and say, suppose I'm wrong. Suppose there is a God. Suppose there is a God. How would it change our perspective of the universe and physics and life in general? Right? Suppose there's a God, right? Let's say, for example, the apple falling in Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton had an apple fall, hit his head. So if there's no God in that scenario, that's the current science, right? But if there was a God in that scenario, how do you approach that as a scientist? What would be different? Well, I would conjecture that if there was a God, you get information from God. You get the information coming in and also the information coming out. You have matter, you have energy, and you have God starting the game. The information of when God let go of that apple, how God spun it, the rules of the universe perhaps God gave to the game. But the observer is God, the observer of the game. You can call them God. If you want to make agnostic, call it the observer. The observer, the third-party observer, can put information in how to spin it. You can actually game it by spinning the apple a certain way. And if you actually know the exact way you spun it, the seed variable, right, of how the randomness started, the intent, the information, input that you didn't know until the game gets, every game's different. But if you did know that, then you would know the output as well. Because you can hit play, and every single moment of that trajectory can be calculated based on the rules of the game. And by the time the apple lands on the ground, you can predict exactly where the apple lands. Just like if you went today, as evidence, you can go write computer program today, use the same seed variable, and if you hit play, whatever game that you run, chess, Go will play the exact same way and the same way too. So what that means is time itself can be stored in 3 variables. When the game happened, the information of the input basically. All the inputs. Once you have the inputs, you have the rest of the game. That's it. You have the output, you have everything. So if God exists, that means information is very important. Information represents time. Every time you make a decision as God or as conscious being, every time you change the information or add information, you're creating a new series of events. You're running a program, you're unleashing potential energy. And literally what you're doing is you're adding information, and when you add information to a system, you can either create more disorder or reset the chessboard. You can do anything you want. Entropy doesn't matter anymore. The rules of the game have changed. The information that you add can change the information currently in the game and override it. If information or entropy is a pattern, you can override that pattern with the information that you add to the system. You can also take the information you get from the result of that game and carry it forward to another game. Because now you have a concept of a player, of an observer, of a God, who can then chain events together. So now you have the conceptual concept of a loop. Without an observer, without a God, a third party, conceptually you can never loop. You can never chain information input, run the game, get an output, take that output, put into a new game, and continue forward in a new process, and so on and so forth. Or maybe use the same process. So this explains the law of emergent knowledge, my theory, where you need looping, you need computation, you need memory to create emergent knowledge, to create information, more information, all that stuff, right? Which correlates with what I'm trying to say here. That means that if you believe that there's another wing of science that wasn't discovered, that there's possible leaf that you can tug on, which I've been tugging on it, then you now have to believe that if God exists, that means information is very important. The information God gives into it. The information, and also God can chain it together and make more complicated systems and processes we never imagined, because we can chain two formulas together, or many formulas together, or any combination, and God becomes a coder like us. Phat. God is a coder. Trademark that. Right? God is a coder. God simulated the universe. Who better to reverse engineer God's work than a computer scientist like me? Or you, Phat. Or anyone who wants to study computer science. Because that is the ultimate ring that rules them all. Right? If you have to learn one science, one knowledge, it's computer science. Because it has computation, which all sciences have, but it also has looping, it has memory, because it's the first system that can simulate the language of God. Seriously, you can write and simulate the universe using computer science. That is the language of God. What do you think?
I think it's pretty cool.
That's why it's a spell. That's why computer science is casting a spell. It's the language of God. Think of all the novels, right? All the wizards use some type of spell. They invoke on some magical demon or god because they're using the language of God. The spellcasting. The ultimate language of God is computer science. Because math, computer science, all that is fundamental. Whether you're an alien or a human or whatever. And there's some deep stuff that I want to give in future episodes to talk more about woo-woo stuff, but we're at the hour mark.
For sure.
And hopefully that was inspirational for you, because I believe in God. I believe that 2 years ago I quit my job for a reason. I believe that the Vision Vibe is going to help humanity. I believe that the people on this team are good people who shepherd this technology forward, and we're going to do well with it. We're going to make money. We're going to give back. We're going to make sure the technology doesn't fall into bad hands, and we're going to benefit humanity as much as we can.
Give back to everybody.
I hope that you Phucsters believe in it too, and one day, maybe you can think about it a little bit deeper. Like, do you believe in God or not? What kind of universe do you want to live in? The one I just imagined, I just explained to you, or the one that's default right now? You have to choose, right? I choose this path, and so far it's worked out so well. We just raised $5 million.
Yeah, for sure. And act on it.
So something's on our side for sure. In fact, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being, vulnerable and saying and talking about how we fought now. And now you're going to show me a presentation on Sunday. We'll have you back. And I'm going to actually have you showcase what you did and actually show off your boilerplate. So that, how long did it take you to
honestly,
do all this stuff?
I started on Monday, kind of started on Monday, but I started actually coding on Tuesday, along with Jay. And it's going Friday, and I'm doing the code review on Sunday, so 5-6 days.
2 people
Right.
in a week. Is that what I said?
Yes.
Something like that?
Right.
I gave you more time than that. Right? When you see the example, it's so easy. It's not hard. Because when you cast a spell from a book that I spent 25 years figuring out how to write, and I write a book, here's what happened. Here's why I was mad at Phat. I'll tell you the high level. I wrote a spell book. I wrote the spell book in about 5 weeks part-time. I know it works. It's tight. It's like the best work I've ever done in my life. It's not, perfect, but it's good enough. I give the spell book to Phat. I give the spell book to Jay. And I said, this is one of the best spell books you're ever going to read. Learn it, copy it, and perfect it. It will only take you a couple weeks. They dilly-dally, they're kicking the butt. And now they're learning actually to read the book, and they're learning, oh shit, this still looks like pretty tight. And now they're going to become spell masters. Because now, once you learn the spell book, you're going to be like me. I can't really offer you much anymore, Phat. What I can offer you is guidance of when you get stuck on those spells, how to unstuck you, but it's up to you. I can give you the book. You gotta read it, man. You gotta try the spells. You gotta perfect it.
No, for sure.
And I'll be happy to unstuck you. But if I give you a spell book, if for months you don't do anything with it, you're not Hermione, you're Neville. Which one you will be?
Hermione.
Neville, Hermione. Right.
Never
So
heard.
Hermione, as you know, in Harry Potter, is the studious, hardworking girl who gets straight A's and pre-reads all the books before even class and takes 8 classes versus 4 and is super awesome student. Versus Neville has a lot of accidents and
He's a clumsy, chubby guy,
mishaps.
man.
He's a little ding dong sometimes, like Phat. But Phat's not that fat. He's kind of skinny. Phat is not fat.
No, I am skinny.
Phat is skinny. Okay, so maybe we'll end with that bad joke.
Yes.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Fuchs.
Have a good night.
And I'll see you
Take
next
care.
time.